markets. We got Josh, Sam, and we got a special guest over here. We got the homie David Schinkel, the big dog.
Yes,
Hey,
sir. Yes,
welcome,
sir.
welcome.
Welcome, bro. Enjoy. So, yeah, I mean, guys, I would say this has probably been the craziest single day in my entire I've been looking at the stock market for probably 10 years, at different capacities, but this has been like the most insane multi few hour period I've ever experienced, and the build up to that has also been the most insane. Just to give like a quick recap, last night, China is the most likely culprit for they were dumping U.S. Treasuries. The 10-year was under 4. It was at like 3.8. It skyrocketed to like 4. It was going to like 4.6, 4, maybe even higher in the middle of the night. This morning, the Fed was having a meeting. People were kind of like tweaking out a little bit, and the market was flat. Honestly, the market was going a little bit up, a little bit down, totally flat. Donald Trump comes out with a tweet in the morning saying, "This is a great time to be buying the dip," with a couple exclamation marks. And within, I want to say, 2 hours, we see Trump come out with another post saying, I am pausing tariffs on all countries except for China, except for the reciprocal tariffs. So China's we're gonna maintain the 125% tariff on China. Everyone else is at 10%, and the market rallies like we've never seen this before. I think
Crazy, crazy,
10%
crazy.
within 3 hours. So a completely insane period of time. What do you guys think?
I mean, it's pretty funny. Yeah, I saw him tweet that it is a good time to buy. I did buy a little bit this morning, but I was a little scared because Eric Trump told us to buy ETH a few months ago, and it's
Yep.
been down like 40% ever since. So that's why I didn't buy so heavily this morning. But we've been buying the last week or so. Um, the rewards definitely paid off pretty quickly. I mean, we'll see what happens tomorrow, but I think we've bottomed out. I think
That
we
see that's the thing that I'm not too sure about. I actually called Ben and I was saying that it really with the state of the market, these swings, they go both ways, really. It's not just it swings up and it swings down. And in my history, it's been very choppy right now. It's been very shaky. So I don't know. I wouldn't really say that we've bottomed out because listen, there is, we were kind of in a really dark place, and or like it's like you were in the desert and then someone offered you like a glass of water, but guess what? You're alive, but you're not out of the desert just yet.
yeah.
So that's the main thing that you have to think about. You got to keep
100%.
calm, cool, and collected. If you weren't ready to jump off the building when you're losing like 5% a day, you shouldn't be jumping for joy when you're up 10% or 15% on the
100%.
day.
I think you're
So you got to
exactly.
you have to just keep your emotions leveled, and that's how you become a good trader because you can't let it dictate how you feel
Yeah, I
because
would
at the
say,
end of the
I would
day,
say, yeah, I mean, more so than a trader, than a good investor, right? Like, we think about it this way: markets are down 20%. The SPY is down 20% over 3 days, right? Everybody, the fear and greed index is at 3. Nobody here has been net selling, during those days. But there's like plenty of like firms on Wall Street, plenty of like mutual funds, plenty of like other people, I'm sure retail too, that are dumping their shares, saying the whole thing is over, tariffs are gonna like destroy the economy. And I think it's like extremely important to keep those emotions in check, because if you're like really regretting the fact that you own any stocks when they're going down on like Monday, and then on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, one post from the president and things rally, and now you're like, oh man, I should have been all in. Like you're in a
but
very
that's the thing where
yeah,
you can't be sidelined in this kind of market because if
yeah.
because there are people today that after the first tweet, because exactly like Josh said, Eric Trump, he last time they said it's a good time to buy the dip, it went horribly wrong, and time has proven that. So there are people who liquidated their entire portfolios today. And think about it, if you liquidated your entire portfolio today, you just lost 10%, and not like, oh, you lost 10% on paper. No, like you really lost 10% because you're really have no you're out of the game. If you have to buy in, you're
Yeah,
starting so far behind. So
I
the
mean,
exactly.
main
overall,
thing
you got to
is
think about think
You
about
just
it.
gotta
Too.
add, that's the good thing. Like we said, we're definitely not out of it. So you don't want to empty out your whole clip per se. So you always want to, you rather, what I like to think, you rather be a little bit more conservative and with how you allocate your funds than another big drop and you're just sitting on your hands assed out because you can't do anything. You know what I mean? It's not an
Yeah.
option because you don't
I'll
have
I'll
the
say this.
funds.
I think when it comes to being like a long-term, long-horizon value investor, you have to always be cautiously optimistic, right? Because if you're not optimistic, why are you investing, right? You should be putting your money into something else. And if you're not cautious, every time the market dips, you're going to sell and say, okay, I'm going to buy back lower. Every time the market rips, you're going to buy and say, okay, I'm going to sell as we go a little bit higher. And statistically, it's just I think almost impossible for anyone to ever do that correctly. And like Sam said, I think yeah, the market's up 10%. People's portfolios are up 10, 20, 30% if they have like certain leverage or certain types of like growth tech stocks. But if tomorrow the market's down 10% and you're like losing your shit, you're not like a value investor, because the way I think about it is I look at a company like AMD, right? I started buying AMD at $160. Yesterday it was at 100. It was at $78. I was still buying at 78 because the fundamentals, my thesis for a company like AMD hadn't really changed. Now, was I like dumping like all my money at 78, $80 a share? No, because it could go down to 50. So I have to be like cautiously optimistic about it. But now that it's at 95, over the next few days, like I look at an AMD, my estimation is that it will probably be worth somewhere between like
It's still good value.
250 and 350 within 3 to 5 years,
Yeah.
right?
I think
So that's
even though it pumped today, it's still a good value fundamentally.
exactly,
So
exactly. And if you're out of the market, right? If you're out of the market, you're not going to want to buy AMD when it rips 20% like it did today. And then
You're gonna
tomorrow,
you're gonna wait you're gonna wait for the next pullback, and guess what? The market always does the opposite of what you want it to do when you want it to do it. So the same people, and more so even with stocks, how many people sold their crypto and they're like, oh yeah, man, 55K, 60K, I'm gonna load back up, and then it's gonna rip to 90. I was seeing that all over the timeline. And those people are, it's like you say, they're like, oh shit, I missed out on 10%. Okay, well, it's gonna pull back tomorrow. And then guess what? Then it goes up even more. And then this is the real problem. Then it gets into the psychological stuff where now you're just like, you're not sure of yourself. And when you not becoming sure of yourself, you can't be a good investor because like at the end of the day, you can't, it's not just a formula, it's not just numbers, PE, because if it was, then everyone would understand, well, this company's worth this, they sell this X, Y, and Z. But we all know that there's speculation, there's sentiment, there's people have completely different ideas and different valuations. So you have to really just take it easy, one step by step. And
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's it.
exactly. And I want to hand this over to Josh. Josh, I know you wanted to mention Bitcoin real quick, and then I want to dive into like there's maybe one or two companies I want to give like a quick breakdown on, companies I really like in terms of kind of like an undervalued perspective from here. Especially, I think that they'll do quite well even with the tariff. So, Josh, go and kind of talk about Bitcoin real quick before we jump over to the next topic.
yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk about what you guys just talked about for a quick minute, and then I can go to Bitcoin. But yeah, I mean, I feel like when everything was going down, I mean, it was the right time to buy, and you buy as it's going down because we've seen time and time again the stocks only go up. Not true, but you know what I mean. And then, but it is kind of a bittersweet moment when everything goes up, right? Like when you see everything bounce, like AMD and all those other stocks that you've been buying. It is a bittersweet moment because it's like you're not supposed to really unload the whole clip, but it's like, damn, like, I wish I bought more every single time. It's just like, I wish I bought more. I wish I bought more. And we see we saw AMD go from like $76 to what, like 90 something. So, like, that's just an example. But fundamentally, I mean, it's still a good buy at the end of the day, like, even though it ripped like 20 something percent today.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I have to say about that. With Bitcoin, what do you think? What I've been calling a bottom of Bitcoin. Do you remember that number, Ben?
No, I don't remember the number. I mean,
I think you said 70s, low 70s, I think.
Low
I think you
70s.
said 72. If
I said
I'm not
73. I was $1,000 off. I was a
wow.
thousand dollars off because of just
Well, guys, let's not talk like we've bottomed out, you know. We don't know.
I think
We
we
don't know
bottomed
where
out. No, so this is what I want to talk about. I think we bottomed out here.
I think it's
Um,
impossible to call like bottoms, right? Because like yeah, we can maybe call local
no, but
bottoms.
I'm just saying on the technicals. I'm not even talking about like Trump
Yeah,
aside and all that. Just like on the technicals,
yeah,
like basic technicals, very basic technicals.
yeah,
It retested the old highs. We had a lot of continuation. Remember, for months, we had continuation around the low 70s. We bounced on those highs, and we're breaking out of a daily downtrend.
yeah.
Like right now, we're testing it right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, I think the technicals are a little bit more accurate for crypto than for stocks because people trading crypto are so heavily involved in technicals. The way I look at crypto this year or the next few years is we have the most pro crypto friendly administration that we've ever had by far, right? And for people who are actually working in Web3, like building real projects, real companies, anyone there will tell you, especially my experience where I used to work, like we were literally hamstrung to the point where um, creating a compliant token, something that was like checked all the legal boxes, was costing multiple millions of dollars and years and years and years of like dozens of people's time. And now, that's just one example. There's going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of other projects and other companies doing real things within Web3, within crypto. And I think that honestly, the meme coin saga left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. Like a really, really bad taste. A lot of people got rugged. A lot of people got
for
scammed. A
sure,
lot of
yeah.
people got robbed. And I think as we get a little bit further from that, and if God willing, a lot of the people responsible for that stuff are arrested, put
Well,
into
that's what
prison,
caused it last bull
prosecuted,
run too. Remember?
then yeah, then I think we will see a bull run of proportions that we may have never seen before. And that's not speaking from like a technical perspective, that's speaking from like what things like David Sachs, what he's saying, things like Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, literally has said that he has hundreds of millions of dollars, if not more, in Bitcoin and in crypto assets. RFK Jr. has multiple nine figures in Bitcoin, in crypto assets. So we're talking about an administration that is so invested in the upside of crypto. Eric Trump, still wants his reputation protected. I have no doubt that Eric Trump wants to, a year or two or three from now, retweet his post with a quote saying, "Told you guys to buy at 3,000 when ETH is now 10,000." You know what I'm saying? Like all those factors really play into it, and I think that's what we're going to see. Right now, the attention is on the stock market. Um, if we see things level out, I think we will see a lot of the attention shift back to crypto.
I agree. I think when thinking about crypto, you kind of have to switch your mind up. Sam dropped off, but I think when thinking about crypto, you kind of have to switch your mind a little bit because of like we're not valuating companies in crypto. We're kind of just doing social arbitrage. There's no like forward PE or like numbers or revenue or profit margin. There's nothing like that. It's all social. Like this person bought, this person's talking about it. Like that's what we're buying, right? At the end of the day, it's like I mean, that's why it's such a speculative asset because it's just all
Yeah.
social arbitrage. Like, there's
Yeah.
no real,
well,
like,
see, that's why like I always like to like really separate in my mind. It's like Bitcoin in one category, and then everything else in a completely different category. Like in my mind, 99.5%, maybe even more of these cryptos, I think of it as like Pokemon cards, man. Like at the end of the day, like something, like people think it's cool, baseball card, something like, there's a sentiment, there's a value, you could sell for X, Y, and Z currently. But I think Bitcoin is like a whole different, like on a whole different, purpose, on a whole different like scheme of things, because if what Bitcoin is supposed to do is kind of just be like kind of the future, it's going to be the next currency. And if America.
Yeah, but is it gonna be the next currency, or is it gonna be the
I
next
don't
gold?
I don't think it's going to be the next currency. I think it's going to be a reserve asset of
or
sorts.
or it could, well that's the thing. It could be it'll see. It's harder with the currency, but it could reserve asset. That's for sure. I mean, just you've
Yeah.
been listening to the administration. You know, it's
Yeah, I mean,
definitely happening. So
yeah, I'll just say this one last thing on crypto, and then we can jump over. I just want to go into a little bit of detail for some stocks. We can't forget that they've announced the intention of making a strategic crypto asset reserve, right? This administration, what I've realized is they're very they like to put a front like they're like extremely erratic and unpredictable when in the background they might not be. You know, like we don't know what's actually going on, but they come out with a message like we're gonna do a crypto reserve. Everything rallies. Something else happens. A few days later, everything rallies back down. We're now kind of in no man's land. Alts are moving down, if not sideways. Crypto, Bitcoin is moving slightly sideways. Everyone's focused on the stock market. What could happen when the stock market levels out again? Like we don't know what's going to happen. I think it's pointless to be like trying to time things exactly, but I think if you have belief, if you have conviction,
Yeah,
you
definitely.
should be buying like consistently and again optimistic but cautious.
Yeah, we're not trying to time things exactly. I think, like you said, like everyone's talking about the stock market. You even see like crypto guys buying stocks now, or like ecom guys buying stocks. It's like all eyes are on the stock market right now. And guess what? Nobody's talking about crypto and like what happens then. The last couple months, nobody has been talking about crypto. What happens? It just absolutely rips face out of nowhere, and then everyone starts talking about it again. So, I think we'll see that soon. But
it's tough because I feel like even at 100,000, like normies were still like they weren't as I thought there would be a way bigger reaction. You know, personally, I thought that you know 100,000 is psychological. People understand big round numbers, and a lot of these people are like, oh wow, 5 years ago, I heard about Bitcoin and it
Sam,
was
I
at
think
a couple thousand, and now it's at 100,000. Maybe in 10 years, 5 years, it'll be at 1 million, and I don't want to
I
miss out. So
I personally think we're at the point that most people have heard about Bitcoin. I think we're at the point that they actually have to get educated at this point.
yeah, it's like a word. Like they know the word
Because
probably.
people hear it, it's flying around, right? The
Yeah,
word is like people know what it is. Like if you ask people Bitcoin, they heard the word.
hundred
But I
percent.
think at this point, after hearing it, they need to have an understanding and be educated in it, and most people aren't.
Yeah,
Then there's
let's
also the barrier of like technological advancement. If you're dealing with an elderly person or I don't know, someone who doesn't have access to, I'm trying to think like maybe if you don't have access to, the internet, a phone, whatnot, it could be a little bit, of a hurdle, comparatively to, taking
Well,
money, getting paid, hiding
well,
it. You know what I mean?
what do you think would be the next
I think
what who
I
needs to
think
buy or
payment. I
who
think
like what needs to
getting
happen?
paid. I think people will eventually like maybe even. I mean, you guys don't think it'll be a currency, but I think people will eventually just start getting maybe not like a every single week payment, but something like maybe like a one time, yearly, bonus or something along those lines of where they get paid in crypto and gives them some kind of it gets deposited directly
yeah.
to they send it
No, but
directly to
no. But I'm asking like what needs to happen for people to be like if people
what
that are
needs to
now go
happen.
Bro, just
Well,
time. I'll just say it just takes time, guys. This is an asset that's only been around for like 11 like this is only an asset that's been in the
no,
mainstream
I
for
get
like
it, but
7
like
8
I'm
years,
saying
you know what
like
I mean? Like we have billions and billions of people on the planet and right now there are hundreds of millions already using crypto,
the
right?
problem also is there's been so much shakiness and so much kind of scandal in the crypto spaces. Not even just talking about right now, more with the FTX and the Binance. So there are a lot of people who were starting to get warmed up to crypto in the first place, and I saw this last time. People talking about crypto. Get a couple normies here and there, and then they got completely wiped out. They either they bought at the top and they got devastated and they didn't
Yeah.
realize that they were investing over a few years or a few decades, not over a few months. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's again, solvency is number one. I say it on every call for this, for DGen download. I say it on X. Like you have to stay solvent. If you don't stay solvent, if you like risk the bag, yeah, you might make it up. You might make a huge win, but you also might lose, and that loss will keep you on the sidelines potentially for the rest of your life. So super important to like make sure you don't ruin yourself, depending, especially if you're older. So let's do
Let's get
rapid
into the
fire and jump
stocks.
over. Let's get into the stocks. Let's get into kind of like some value focus like analysis. Josh, Sam, I can go first if you guys want.
Go
What are
first. I'll
one or two,
go.
yeah, what are one or two stocks that you guys are really liking at these valuations? I'm happy to go first unless someone wants to jump in.
After today's pump or what?
It doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, like our current
Well,
prices
well,
right
well,
now.
there. Well, it pumped, but I mean, a lot of these companies are still what 15-20% down from all-time highs. Still, I
Some
mean,
are 50% down. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
some
I
are
mean, that's what
like I've been saying. I mean, I'll go first. I'm buying Tesla. I'm betting on Elon Musk. You know, I'm not. I don't really even care about the fundamentals. I don't care about any of that. I'm solely betting on the horse. I am betting on Elon Musk. I'm betting on the fact that when people are scared, I've been saying this earlier, when people are scared, it's really, I mean, it sounds so easy. Oh, well, when the market's dip, just buy, you know? It sounds so simple, but when you're in the thick of it, and it feels like every day it's going down. How can it 5% and then another 5% and then another 3% and then we get one day where it's looking good and then it just that gut that gut punch. You're like, oh, a little relief. You could wipe the sweat off your brow and then boom, it plunges right back down to all-time lows. I mean, it was demoralizing. Let's pat ourselves on the back. I mean, what we're witnessing right now, it's funny because we'll in 10, 15, 20 years, we're going to have kids and they're how we thought about the 08 crash,
Yeah.
or even maybe the
Yeah. Yeah.
bubble. We're going to be saying, "Oh yeah, it was the start of the golden age of America. We had to clean the slate and we had to do it." I was speaking about this on the Berman show. It's gonna hurt, but if you don't cut, it's like cutting off. It's like, you know, if you let the infection spread, if you don't just amputate the arm, the whole body is gone. In 20, 30 years, our country would, maybe even sooner, it would set to explode. So this had to be done. We have to reshuffle the cards. We've been getting robbed forever. How long have we been talking about China taking our lunch money?
China.
It's China. No
Yeah.
good. The bad,
Yeah.
the very
We
bad,
are we
not
are
good.
yeah, we're seeing a restructuring, right? So again, like just
Let
to
me just make the
recap.
last point with
Okay, go
China.
ahead.
What they've been doing just with the IP, with the intellectual property, we've been basically doing all the grunt work of creating everything. They don't have to create movies. They don't have to create anything. We make it and then they steal it. We perfect it. We're like the crash test dummies for these guys. And our politicians were okay with it because they were all getting paid off on the side, so they were fine with it.
Yeah, it's again, it's there's been a lot of people who are very short-term focused, and even just the way like whether Trump is right or not is something we will know in 2, 5, 10 years, 20 years, right? But at least the thought process behind short-term pain for long-term gain has been such a foreign concept since Paul Volcker did it in like the 80s, that most people just don't even understand. Like, whoa, why would I sacrifice the short term for the long term? And it's like that is the foundation for building a healthy, functioning society. You do things so that your children and their children and their children's children can reap the fruits of those benefits, and we just haven't seen that. So on that note, I'll go into a couple stocks I really like. AMD again. AMD consistently buying. I think it's really set up to be a winner in terms of where the stock price will be 2, 3, 4, 5 years out as compared to now. I think Nvidia has rallied harder, but again, Nvidia, in my opinion, is already closer to its kind of like peak, right? I think AMD has been a sleeper, and I think, again, I've been buying AMD since 160. We were at $78 buying, we're now at $95. Yeah, it's a huge jump from 78. but we're still under $100 a share. And I think if everything goes according to their plan, if Lisa Su keeps like performing well as the CEO, and if like we don't see a lot of canceled orders and we don't see a major disruption in Taiwan, and all these companies, I'm sure, are creating plans around that, especially now that they know about the China risk. I think AMD, again, is going to be a $250, $300, $350 stock within the next 3, 4, 5 years. So that's something I feel generally confident about, and I'll keep buying, pretty much consistently. It goes up, I'll buy. It goes down, I'll buy. But I probably won't be buying after $1.20, $1.30 a share, just because the risk to reward for me is it's already a big position. It's not gonna be that great. Another company I like it less that it's $20. I liked it a lot more when I was buying, a day or two ago at 13, 14 is Victoria's Secret. I talk about it a lot. It's, they have $250 million in cash. Market cap is maybe now like $1.4 billion. A brand that literally everybody in the first world country and probably in most other countries knows. They had a lot of issues because they started, they kind of went the Nike path. They went a little woke. I don't love that term, but they started doing a little like really stupid stuff, a lot of things that were not beneficial to the shareholders, and the price plummeted. Last year, the price rallied. I bought it at 17 and went all the way up to 48. And then it went all the way back down to like 13 something. So I am very confident that a fair price for Victoria's Secret is somewhere probably between like $28 and like $42 a share. So I think we'll see that again. And this time I actually will be cutting a lot more of my position than I did last time, especially if we see it go like parabolic. And then the last one I'll bring up is XYZ. I really like XYZ Square, formerly the ticker was SQ. Again, buying a lot, buying call options like I have been on Victoria's Secret as well, on SQ. On Square, on XYZ is the ticker. Again, company's been getting destroyed. The sentiment is really negative because the sentiment for crypto is very negative. But fundamentally, they're a payment processor that's producing cash, very profitable, trading a very reasonable like forward PE ratios and a current PE ratio. And
what is their forward PE?
I don't remember exactly. I think somewhere between like 12 and 14. For a payments company, for a company that's like actually making money, and for a company that has like a lot of crypto exposure, with the fact that I'm generally bullish on crypto.
Yeah, how much? I was gonna ask you that. How much Bitcoin do they?
I don't know exactly. I'd have to look. I'd have to look at their balance sheet. I don't have it at the top, but it's a generally healthy balance sheet. The question mark for me is Jack Dorsey going to be able to really turn it into something special, or is he going to kind of lead it the same way he led Twitter to the point where somebody else had to take over? I think he's learned a lot from his mistakes at Twitter. I think he's become a lot better of a CEO and of a leader. And I think he understood that doing things like giving, Ibram X. Kendi $10 million for like an anti-racism center is not what's going to make his company successful. So if he's learned that lesson, I don't doubt that we will see XYZ at $100 plus. Currently it's at 54, maybe 55. Yesterday it was at like 47. So that's kind of where I think, those are just a few. There's a lot more. I can talk about Amazon, I can talk about Meta, but I want to talk about some smaller cap companies. Josh, take us home, man. What are your what are the?
All right, rapid fire. Google, Amazon, AMD for sure. We saw Nvidia as well. We saw Nvidia go up 18% today, but saw AMD go up 23% on that rally. So we see exceptional growth coming for an AMD for sure. Him's been buying a lot in the low to mid 20s. Started buying around the mid 30s, but bringing my average down on that. Nike here, been buying low 50s. What else? Palantir, I wanted it to go lower. I think it's still overvalued, but it might not go lower. Nubank, Meta, PayPal under 60. And then positions that I wanted to start that I haven't started yet was Adobe, MU, and Elf potentially. So those are the three positions. I might not even start. I might start an Adobe position. I like those. I like Adobe the best out of the three. But we'll see what happens in the coming weeks with everything. But yeah, I mean, I like AMD. AMD is probably one of my biggest positions now in my portfolio. I'm kind of almost at the max amount of shares that I want to buy there. Hims, I'm approaching the max as well here. And I mean, yeah, you can't go wrong with Google and Amazon and Meta at
Yeah.
these prices. I think it's just a steal deal.
Agreed. Agreed. Awesome, guys. There you have it. Another week is in the books. We will be coming back next week, and anything can happen in the market. Like I always say, stay smart, be cautiously optimistic, and do not expose yourself to potential total loss. So
Ben,
that's
I
it
wanted
for
to
me.
ask you. I wanted to ask you real quick. What do you think happens in this next 90 days with the negotiations and Trump's motive? Just from
Yeah,
like
anybody's
what
guess,
you think.
but I'll be real. I was talking about this maybe with you guys, maybe with other people. I just think we've become this like accelerated timeline movie where historically things would take months to bottom out. Things would take months to reach the top. Things would take months, if not years, to get like full multi-international negotiations. And we've seen literally all that stuff in like 3 weeks. So I don't know what will happen in 90 days. I think they're positioning a lot of countries against China. I don't think it makes sense for China to invade Taiwan. If they don't invade Taiwan, then what I'm about to say can be accurate. If they do invade Taiwan, then everything is like out the window. I don't think they will. It's monsoon season soon, and just won't end well for anyone. So I think we come to a more we come to an understanding with China. No more stealing IP. No more allowing fentanyl to pour out of their ports into Mexico and into the U.S., killing like 150,000 people a year. No more like armies of fishing boats literally taking all the fish out of the ocean. Like there's just like a lot of things that like we don't want them to be doing anymore. And I think all of that is going to be leveraged. I think China's going to have to like keep devaluing their yuan otherwise. So I think we've come to this point, right? All you countries, this is no more of a free ride. Everyone has to be paying their fair share, whether it's things like military budgets, whether it's things like tariffs, etc. China has been positioned as like the villain, which in a lot of ways they can be, right? I don't think they should stay that way forever because they can change some of their policies, and we want no more trying to take over the Panama Canal, stuff like that. So I think we'll negotiate something. I think the tariffs on China will probably get back to like a 10% level like everyone else. And in an ideal world, everybody's economy rises because it's not a zero-sum game. But
Yeah.
that's just the optimistic view. There's other views, but that's what I think is more likely to happen than not.
Yeah, I think everyone gets the base case here, and everyone just gets 10%. Honestly, I think
Yep.
that's what happens.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
Awesome. Another great episode in the books. Thank you guys. We will see you all
Take it
soon.
easy.
Adios.
Bye. I love you.
Hey, yo, Joshy. What's up? We got David over here, bro.
Dog.
What are you guys up
Look
to?
at this guy, all in black.